Runes are finally coming out on Bitcoin, and in this video, I'm going to go over some of the top pre-runes projects that you need to have on your radar, as well as some that are coming up in the nearby future. Now, there's tons of different projects releasing, and there is a lot of information to cover in this video, so I'm actually splitting it up into two different parts, with this first part having a lot of the major projects. Without further ado, guys, let's get into it. Now, one of the best ways of finding these different projects is actually on Magic Eden in their pre-runes tab. Now, I've brought this up in a couple other videos in the past, but this is a very good place in order to search for some promising projects, especially when you can turn the volume to the past 30 days. And the volume is going to be an ultimate metric, as well as the floor price of how successful some of these different projects are going to be, because this is a very great way to gauge the overall hype. One thing that you guys have to know about these different runes is a lot of them are simply meme coins or don't have any sort of promises for utility. There's very few of those, and the main meta has been these different inscriptions coming out, promising some sort of rune when the rune protocol comes, and then a bunch of people speculating and FOMOing into these different tokens. We also have different projects out there that already had their BRC20 token, and some of these projects are simply going to convert them over to the runes token and airdrop them when they come out. Now, I recently tweeted that I think a lot of these different projects have a chance of not actually airdropping these runes just because it's going to be so expensive to do that. And I think a lot of them are going to have different claims for these runes instead. Now, with these claims, you are going to have to spend the gas fees in order to actually get them. So just price that in, because I really don't think a lot of these projects have done the math of how expensive airdropping all of these tokens are going to be. And I personally expect you needing to spend at least another $50 to $100 to claim these different runes. Now that all that pre-alpha is out of the way, let's get into some of these pre-runes, starting with number one, which is Runestone. Now, Runestone was actually spearheaded by Leonidas, who was the founder of Ordi, which was the first BRC20 token. And what happened is they looked for any wallet that had at least 3 inscriptions. Prior to around January of this year, there was a specific block number, and they airdropped these out. There's around 113,000 of them, and they're actually guaranteed to get 3 different runes airdrops. The first one being called Dog, which is supposed to be the major meme coin of Bitcoin. So if that Dog meme coin can blow up, then there's a chance that these runestones could pay for themselves. You also have those 2 other airdrops coming as well. And then on top of that, you have a lot of different projects whitelisting or giving allocations to these different runestone holders. Now, I don't like how there's so many of them, because a lot of new projects coming out might only have 1,000 inscriptions or maybe 10,000 at the max. So I think a lot of runestone holders are going to be left out, or they're going to have to compete with each other to get some of these different allocations. And once again, because Bitcoin is so expensive, I don't know how many of these projects are actually going to be airdropping to these runestone holders like a lot of speculation has been. Now, I'm still pretty bullish on them, and I think if you're someone who's looking to just get into something and not look at it, these runestones are probably going to be your best and safest bet. Not financial advice, and always do your own research. I personally don't own any right now, but I'm thinking of buying one pretty soon, and I'm potentially even thinking of buying 2, because there's only about 6,000 people that have 2, and potentially that might be a requirement of whitelist in the future, just to slow down or make smaller the overall allocation. The next project on the list is called Pups, and they currently have a $7.6 thousand floor for their actual rune puppets. Now, the Pups token is actually already out, and they actually have some of their supply over on Solana, and then you can also buy some of their token over on Unisat, because it is a BRC20 token. And 77% of these tokens are already circulating in this manner, and you're going to be able to burn them 1 for 1 in order to get the rune equivalent. And then another 23% are going to those rune puppets, which is one of the reasons they're so expensive. Now, I personally think a lot of these different conversions or tokens that already are out there are probably already priced in, or potentially even overpriced in, simply because people can already buy them. And because of that, I'm a little hesitant of going on the market, buying them now, and speculating of what they're going to be worth when the token has already been out. I personally think the better play is getting into new projects that are in their whitelist phase and getting in super early that don't actually have the rune token out there yet, because now that isn't necessarily as priced in. Now, we could see this token continue to run when this actually comes out on runes, but in my mind, Solana is just way more of an efficient trading platform, so you would think a lot of this has already been priced in, like I said. Regardless Regardless though, I think there's a lot of upside potential for this project in the longer term. I actually really like the different memes, and this whole entire rune token that they're coming out with is just going to be meme based unless they do something larger with it in the future. The next project on the list is RSIC Meta Protocol, and they really started this whole entire farming wave when it came to these different rune tokens. They had about 21,000 of these RSIC miners. They airdropped them out to different people holding ordinals in the ecosystem, and then you've been able to go through this gamified process on their website to activate these different RSICs, and then you're able to earn their token that is going to be coming out, their runes token. Now, there's a lot of speculation of what this token is actually going to be used for, and a lot of people that got these early and activated them early have accumulated a bunch of these tokens. So once these actually come out, maybe be a little careful just because you have some people with very massive bags, but their team has innovated a lot with this whole entire gamified farming system, and I expect that they're going to be able to deliver and do other cool stuff in the future, even though they haven't talked too much about it yet. So I do think it's a little late to buy these different RSICs. You really wanted to get into this as early as possible and start farming very early on, but I at least keep an eye on this project. Maybe if this token dumps a lot when they release, it might be a decent play to buy some up and just wait for the longer term, because these guys do seem to be builders and have a lot of hype and engagement behind them, as well as a super high floor price already for their RSICs. And they recently even partnered with Memeland, which is a massive meme coin project. So that's another important thing to note when it comes to their token. The next one here is going to be Prometheans, and this is actually from the CyberKongz team, which is over on Ethereum. Now, I actually scooped up a couple of these today after I was doing a little bit more research, because these just came out over the past couple of days, and I think they have a lot of upside potential. If you don't know anything about CyberKongz, they really blew up on the Ethereum space very early. They're an OG project, still have a pretty strong floor, and their banana token had set a standard for the Web3 space at the time. Now they airdropped all of these different Prometheans to different communities in the Ordinals ecosystem, as well as their CyberKongz holders, and we don't know exactly what they're going to do yet, but they keep saying that they have a ton of different plans for this token. And because they're such a large and backed team, I expect that they're actually going to be able to pull something off here. Right now, I think there's about 18,000 of these different Prometheans. Let's see, there's actually 21,000, and they're currently going for a 2.4K floor, so around a $50 million market cap. And we know that these are going to be getting the runes token. I believe 100% of the allocation is going to be split between these different Prometheans. So even though we don't have an exact idea of what they're going to do, I do expect that this listing percent is going to continue to decrease. A lot of the people that got these are pretty diamond-handed in the ecosystem, and then you have one of the largest and strongest teams in the crypto space actually saying, hey, we're going to go, balls deep into this ecosystem. So I personally scooped up a few for a longer term speculative play. I think they opened up at around 1.5K on Magic Eden. Now they're sitting at around 2.4K. But like any of these different projects, guys, the actual risk is way, way, way higher right now, simply because we don't know where a lot of these projects are going to go. And once again, I think the lowest risk thing you can do as an individual is just get into brand new projects. The next project here is called Runenodes, and basically they have all these different nodes that they airdrop to the Nodemonkeys project. And then they also have the Node Council, which is going to be 10 different individuals that help decide where this project is actually going to go. Now, for the most part, this is just a meme token, but they have a chance of adding to different dexes, different sexes in the future. And right now they have their ordinals, which are going to get 45% of the token supply. And then another 45% is going to be a transition from the BRC20 token over into the Runes token. You can kind of see here their whole entire node council. I have no idea where the project is going to go or what they're going to do with it, but their floor is about $440 with $8.2 million worth of volume. Whenever you see this much volume as well as a healthy floor, it's worth keeping your eye on for when they release their runes. Next one here is Ape Odyssey, otherwise known as Runesterminal. And Runesterminal is building a bunch of infrastructure for the Runes protocol. So they're building a launch pad, they're building an etching service, they're building a scanner, and a bunch of other stuff. And those Ape Odysseys are going to get their Rune token, as well as there being a Rune token sale in the future, which I expect to be a pretty profitable thing. Now, this was actually a free mint that ended up going for around 3 to 4K USD. Now it's around 2K USD. And they recently announced another project called Ape Swap Runes, which is going to be a whole entire dex for this whole entire runes protocol. And they're also going to have a 5K collection with this that's going to be a free mint with their Swap A token. If you can get whitelist for this, I highly recommend it. I think these are going to do very well. It does sketch me out that they're already launching another project as well as more runes when they're also going to do their runes token sale with Rune rather than just doing Ape Swap within the Ape terminal, which is all about infrastructure. So that kind of seems a little bit cash grabby to me, but this is a project that has had a lot of attention. And I think if you can get a whitelist to this Ape Swap, it's definitely worth going for. And I think their Rune token, especially if they can build out this infrastructure and have a strong launch pad, could be a big performer in the runes ecosystem. You can also go to their site and learn a little bit more about the rune scan, the runes mint, the runes pad, the runes book, all of this different stuff. It looks like they've already been building a decent amount, and it could be a very promising longer term play. The next project on the list is called Tinyvikings, and they're these cute little tiny Viking PFPs that are building a whole entire interactive story and ecosystem. You can actually go on their site and learn a little bit more about their story, and it kind of has this funny little fantasy meme type feel. I really like how this project looks. I don't own any right now, but whenever they put so much work into these different little aspects, it makes me a little bit more bullish on the team overall. They're also going to have their Tinyvikings rune token that is going to be going towards their Tinyvikings, so it could end up being something pretty decent. And then once again, when I'm looking at the volume here, they have about a $600 floor and $5.2 million worth of volume. So they definitely have a lot of attention on them right now. Once again, I don't know if it's worth going out and buying some of these in order to get into their runes. I think it might make more sense or have at least less downside to simply wait for these runes to come out, because I think a lot of the infrastructure is going to be lacking in the beginning. And I think there's going to be so much congestion and just gas fees that there isn't going to be as much volume to really pump these in the beginning. And that's why I'm interested in different things such as Solana bridges, where now all of a sudden a lot of these transactions might happen on Solana, or maybe some of these different L2s are going to have this increased compatibility with these runes tokens. Because I can just imagine in the beginning it costing hundreds of dollars just to make a transaction. And if that's the case, it's going to be hard for a lot of these different runes to pump. The next project on this list is called Runex, and they're building something very similar to Friendtech, but on the Bitcoin ecosystem. And you can actually connect your Discord to your account and earn honor, which is going to give you different benefits. They had this whole entire hunt type game where you could go into this little gamified experience and look for their different free mint. And right now, I think that mint is going for over $1,000. So definitely keep your eye on this project. It looks like they're a team that really knows how to build a lot of stuff. And once again, this airdrop snapshot already went out, so you're not actually going to be able to get these runes unless you buy it on the secondary at this point. Now, I'll keep an eye on this project. I might buy some of their runes when they come out, or at least interact in their ecosystem, earn some of that honor, and see where it goes. But this is definitely a project you guys are going to want to keep on your radar. I'll also put a link in the description of their actual Git book where they talk about this honor rating, just so you can learn a little bit more. I'd love to go into more depth in this video, but there's so many projects to cover that I don't really have time. Another interesting project to pay attention to is actually called Rune Whisperers. They're a 10K PFP collection on Runestone, and they're going to have their runes come out in the nearby future. Now, I think the art of these look pretty cool, especially compared to a lot of the different art projects over on Bitcoin. And it's not just an art project, because they're already building out different utilities, such as this bot monitor that's going to monitor whenever new runes become available. And you unlock this by owning one of their Rune Whisperers. So it looks like not only the art is good, but we know they're going to have runes. And we also know that they're building different utilities, or at least have those talents. And the price of this project is around $250. Now, I haven't gone out and bought any of these right now. A lot of this I'm just paying attention to, like I've mentioned multiple times in this video. But I definitely think that this is a project that has some staying potential, especially if they're able to continue to build out some different things, simply because a lot of these other runes coming out have zero promises of utility and are really just meme coins. So if they're already able to build some different value for their holders, that's something that I really like to see, especially at this stage of the game. Another project I want to bring up here is Runepunks. Now, I've mentioned Runepunks a couple times just because this was a free mint that did super well, but one of the negative things about the project is that all of a sudden they decided to launch another 11,000. Now, a lot of people reviewed this as a cash grab. They did in fact do this on a separate collection, but I do think this was in fact sort of a cash grab thing. This new collection that they just minted out in the public, and their actual season 1 or their main Runepunks pumps are sitting around $300 down from the $1,000 that they had pumped to. It's really unfortunate, in my opinion, that they launched another collection because I thought these had crazy potential and would go on a massive run, but instead they really diluted things so quickly. Now, the reason I am bringing them up still is they still are getting a decent amount of volume, and all of these different Runepunks are in fact going to get their future rune token, which we haven't really seen too many details for. Another reason that I wanted to bring them up is regardless of what's going on, their actual engagement and the amount of people paying attention to it and the amount of hype that they've been able to get has been very impressive, especially compared to a lot of other projects out there. So their marketing really is on point, and I do like the art of them. So I'm still holding the some that I had bought and some that I had minted, but I'm not too crazy about this team, especially when they decide to do random cash grabby stuff out of nowhere. Another project that has been doing well is called the Runeguardians. They also have two different collections with their main Runeguardians as well as their Runeguardian miners, and these have been performing pretty well on the secondary as well as them getting a decent amount of engagement here. Now, the whole entire concept of this is very similar to the RSICs, where these different guardians are able to have a sort of gamified experience of how much of these runes you're actually going to get. So based on its rank and based on its different boosting, it's this whole entire gamified farming experience, and then you're going to get the runes in the future. Now, these main ones with the Sentinels and Guardians do get more, and they are going for a lot more money, but then you have the Keepers, and now you have those secondary miners that are even cheaper than these. I don't have super high hopes for the project, but I do think the art is pretty solid, and I like the gamified aspect of what they're doing. But once again, I have no idea where most of these runes are really going to go or what they're trying to do with them, and I haven't seen them talk too much about those plans either. Another project that just minted out, I believe, yesterday and is now doing a 2x is called Runevo. Keep an eye on Runevo. They're trying to build a lot of infrastructure, but mobile, so using your phone. I have no idea how well these are going to do in the long term, but this is another example of a slower mint that you could have minted a decent amount at like 0.003 Bitcoin, and now they're going for about 0.006 Bitcoin. So a little early to know how well they're going to do. They haven't really talked about what mobile infrastructure they're building, but I like to see more infrastructure projects coming out simply because I think that there's going to be a huge demand for infrastructure when it comes to the runes ecosystem. So it's worth having on your radar. Another project very similar to RSIC that I think should be on your guys' radar is called Rune Mania Miner. They had their season 1 that was able to earn a bunch of these different runes, and then they actually came out with their season 2, which just sold out, and I don't think their season 2 can actually mine these next runes yet. So keep an eye on it. Potentially, if this season 1 does really good when it comes to their runes actually launching, then these season 2, which are going to be able to mint potentially the same runes or new runes, could go on a big run as well. I don't personally own any right now, but you can see here that they had this 10K new season Rune 2 miners that just went out on April 10th. They had the whole entire sale for them. Another situation where the secondary is doing better than the mint, and this is why I think it's so important to stay on top of these different releases and to either subscribe to me, follow different Twitter accounts, whatever the case is, so that you can be on top of some of the new ones coming out. Another project on my radar is called Nodeapes. It's kind of these silly little PFP node ape monkeys, and once again, they are going to be getting some runes. They actually have more information than most projects. They have a sort of white paper on their site where you can see that you have these collection of apes. They're able to earn these different nodes. They have the art, and then they also have this different token standard as well in this meta protocol. Each inscription comes with a runic miner, blah, 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 blah. Pretty much the same stuff that we've already been seeing, but I think that their floor has done decently well. Their PFP looks decently well, and I think the overall branding and imagery here has been pretty solid, so it's something on my radar. Another project that you guys really need to have on your radar is called Ordzar. Now, Ordzar is one of the largest marketplaces as well as inscription platforms when it comes to the BTC space, and they actually just sold out of their whole entire first ordinal inscription. And we don't know anything about this yet, but I expect these to actually do very well simply because you already have a platform that delivered on a lot of things. Now, what's unfortunate is you can't buy, sell, or transfer these, or you might miss out on your rune drop, and none of them are actually listed on Ordzar because of that. But I think that these have some insane potential, and it's worth keeping up to date on what they're going to be announcing yet. And I'll make sure to update you guys once I get more information as well. But yeah, definitely a project to keep your eyes on simply because the team has already done so much. You can see here that they're mint for about 457 of these. We're 0.01 Bitcoin, or about 620 US dollars, and that none of them are listed and they have this warning sign. So I don't know if we're ever going to be able to buy these, but if they do release some sort of Rune token, that's definitely going to be something I'm interested in. Game of Blocks is another project that has had decent secondary performance and is going to give you these Gobs runes for the more Gobs you hold. And this is just something that you've got to hold and not move, etc., etc. Just 20 hours ago, they said time is running out. So I think they're going to do their snapshot pretty soon here, probably as soon as the halving goes live. So it might be too late by the time you watch this video, but it's just another one that I have on my radar. Bitcoin Machines is the next project here, and they have their ZBit token, which is already a BRC20 token, and they're going to be doing a 1-for-1 burn of this in order to get the Rune version. Now, they've already pumped up a decent amount over the last couple months, and like I had said in the beginning of the video, I'm a little bit more skeptical of these different conversions rather than new tokens coming out, but I at least have this Bitcoin Machines on your radar. They have this whole entire MMORPG game called Satoria, and this ZBit token is the main currency of that game, and this is a project that's been around for a while. It's OG, they're trustworthy, and they've already developed a lot of stuff in the space, so definitely worth keeping on your radar. I don't know if it's worth going out and buying this ZBit token right now, simply because if you can already buy it on different centralized exchanges and other places, then I don't see why converting this to runes is really going to give it a pump up if that token is already out. For the second to last project, we have Magic Internet Money, which is actually from the Bitcoin Wizard team. Now, we don't know all the details of how to get this airdrop in the future. It looks like they're just doing a bunch of collabs with different projects right now, so give them a follow, pay attention to it. This will be a pretty big one simply because Bitcoin Wizards is one of the OG and one of the top Ordinals projects out there, and I think that this airdrop could be pretty valuable, especially if you can get in early and find some of these different collab opportunities. And once again, I'll update you guys with more information as I get more info. Then the final project of our part 1 of 2 here is called Retordinals. I actually think this is a pretty funny meme, and at the recording of this video, they're actually going to be releasing their token pretty soon here. And this is why, if you aren't already, join our Discord in the description and ask for a trial pass, because I'm able to update you guys way faster than me recording and making and editing a whole entire video and posting it and blah, 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 blah. So if you're interested in looking for some of these different mints, they're a lot more time sensitive. Definitely just join our Discord and try out our alpha group absolutely free. But yes, this is a meme-based project. I actually like their memes. I think a lot of it's funny. They've been getting good engagement. And I think that if you could get into the whitelist or the pre-sale or the public here, that these are going to end up doing pretty well. And once again, that is the whole entire meta of the space. But yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps up part 1 here. I hope this video helped. It took me a really long time researching all these projects, and it's one of the reasons I've had to split this up into parts. I'll try to make that part 2 sometime this week, so subscribe if you want to stay up to date on that. And yeah, I just appreciate everyone watching, and if you got some value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up to help out the algo, and I'll catch y'all later.